The small black vortex twisted continuously, like a bottomless dark pool. At the same time, Duan Lingtian discovered his mental energy was spiraling out of control, surging toward his left eye. Startled into a cold sweat, he hurriedly stopped it. Although he stopped it in time, nearly half of his mental energy had been consumed. This is indeed very strange. Looking at his left eye, Duan Lingtian gave a wry smile. Since he had to return to the city lord's mansion's hidden dragon camp the next day, Duan Lingtian left the guest room to find the little girl Sure and spent the entire day with her. It wasn't until the next morning that Duan Lingtian bid farewell to Captain Hong Yu and his wife before departing. However, Duan Lingtian was in no hurry to return to the city lord's mansion. He walked straight out of Qiushan City. After passing through the city gates, he rose into the air and soared through the sky. Qiushan City has a no-fly formation, so martial cultivators and Dao cultivators below the Saint Entry realm cannot fly. It's been several months since I breathed the fresh air of the high altitudes. Duan Lingtian flew through the high sky, and before long, he had covered a great distance. When he turned around, he found that Qiushan City had turned into an inconspicuous small black. If he hadn't known it was Qiushan City, he wouldn't have been able to recognize it just by looking at that dot. Standing in the air, Duan Lingtian quietly gazed at the small black dot in the distance. Suddenly, a tiny vortex appeared in the pupil of his left eye, twisting faster and faster. Duan Lingtian could feel his left eye heating up. However, his attention was not on that, but on the small black dot in the distance. He discovered that as his left eye grew hot, even though he didn't move, the small black in the distance gradually grew larger until it became a massive city. The clearly defined outline of Qiushan City completely filled the vision of Duan Lingtian's left eye. Thousand-mile eye, Duan Lingtian sucked in a breath of cold air, his heart racing with excitement. At the same time, feeling his mental energy being rapidly consumed, Duan Lingtian quickly cut off the flow, no longer allowing it to feed energy into his left eye. Once deprived of energy, his left eye soon returned to normal. So far, I've discovered two abilities. One is similar to Thousand-Mile Eye, and the second is space displacement. This was the result of Duan Lingtian's research over the course of a night. Space displacement referred to the method he used yesterday to make Elder Hu's fist graze past the side of his cheek. That was an ability displayed by his left eye. However, that ability consumed mental energy far faster than using Thousand-Mile Eye. What name should I give it? Coming back to his senses, Duan Lingtian began to ponder. Since his left eye was no longer an ordinary human eye, he decided to give it a name. God Eye? No. Too tacky. Heavenly Eye? No. That won't do either. It shares the same name as the mental secret art, Heavenly Eye Vision. Ghost Eye? That seems a bit unlucky. Strange Eye seems pretty good. Yes, I'll call it the Strange Eye. After thinking for a while, Duan Lingtian finally decided that he would refer to his mutated left eye as the Strange Eye from now on. Strange Eye, meaning an eye that is eerie and bizarre. And his left eye was indeed bizarre now. After taking a casual stroll outside, Duan Lingtian returned to Qiushan City and the city lord's mansion. Of course, he had to register again when entering the main gate. After returning to the city lord's mansion, Duan Lingtian went back to the hidden dragon camp. Before even stepping into the hidden dragon camp, Duan Lingtian heard bursts of discussion from inside. The person they were discussing was his friend in the hidden dragon camp, Guoli. A month ago, Guoli was defeated by Ho Lin. Today, she challenged Ho Lin and defeated him in just 3 moves, wiping away her previous humiliation. She's truly impressive. That's not even the most impressive part. The most impressive thing is that she defeated the person originally ranked 8th among the 13 protectors and took his place. If Zhang Jilong, who is ranked 7th among the 13 protectors, hadn't had a breakthrough, she would have definitely been able to defeat him and take his place. The voices drifted into Duan Lingtian's ears one after another. Guoli had a breakthrough? Upon learning that Guoli had broken through to the late profound level, Duan Lingtian felt a brief moment of surprise before smiling, feeling happy for her. However, the fact that Zhang Jilong had also broken through was quite unexpected. In the blink of an eye, Duan Lingtian stepped into the hidden dragon camp grounds. Duan Lingtian is back. As soon as Duan Lingtian entered the hidden dragon camp, he heard several cries of surprise from within. Someone with sharp eyes had spotted him. This left him somewhat speechless. What was the big deal about him coming back? Soon, through Through the discussions of the group of young men and women in the Hidden Dragon camp, Duan Lingtian learned the reason. It turned out that 3 days ago, Zhang Zhilong had declared that he would seek out Duan Lingtian to avenge his previous defeat as soon as he returned. Duan Lingtian, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, just as Duan Lingtian stepped onto the high platform, the door to Wooden House number 7 opened, and a figure not unfamiliar to Duan Lingtian walked out. It was exactly Zhang Zhilong. Zhang Zhilong was once the #1 person in the mid-stage transcendent realm in the area surrounding Qiushan City, adorned with countless halos of glory. However, ever since he was defeated by Duan Lingtian, those halos had vanished. Because of this, he hated Duan Lingtian to the core. Is something the matter? Facing Zhang Zhilong, who had taken the initiative to greet him, Duan Lingtian gave him a faint glance. Duan Lingtian, I want to challenge you. Zhang Zhilong said bluntly. Today, I want you to return everything you owe me, down to the last detail. I will let everyone know that I, Zhang Zhilong, am stronger than you. Duan Lingtian. As Zhang Zhilong finished speaking, his eyes gleamed with a sharp light, and his face looked somewhat distorted. I really don't know where you get such immense confidence. Hearing Zhang Zhilong's words, Duan Lingtian's expression remained unchanged, but his tone was laced with a hint of contempt. I know you've also broken through, but it doesn't matter. I'll let everyone know. Even if you, Duan Lingtian, have reached the late profound level just like me, you still won't be my match. Zhang Zhilong said with full confidence. Is that so? At some point, Duan Lingtian narrowed his eyes, sizing up Zhang Zhilong with interest. Of course, I'll soon let everyone know that you, Duan Lingtian, are inferior to me, Zhang Zhilong. Zhang Zhilong remained brimming with confidence. Creak, creak, accompanied by the sound of 2 doors opening. The doors to Wooden House number 3 and Wooden House number 8 were opened, and a person walked out from each. A man and a woman. The man was dressed in fine silk robes and looked like a wealthy young master. In fact, he truly was a wealthy young master. It's Gold Ingot, ranked 3rd among the 13 protectors. I didn't expect even him to come out and join the excitement. Who doesn't like watching a good show? The crowd of onlookers broke into another clamor due to Gold Ingot's appearance. While Gold Ingot emerged from Wooden House number 3, the other person who came out of Wooden House number 8 was none other than Guoli, the Guoli who had just fought her way into Wooden House number 8 today. I didn't expect to see such an exciting scene just as I came out of seclusion. It's truly something to look forward to. Gold Ingot looked at the confronting duo, Duan Lingtian and Zhang Zhilong, waved the folding fan in his hand, and spoke with a smile, looking every bit the elegant young master. Although Guoli didn't say anything, her eyes were full of confidence when she looked at Duan Lingtian. After 3 months, Duan Lingtian and Zhang Zhilong were once again standing in the same place, preparing for a duel just like the one 3 months ago. 3 months ago, Zhang Zhilong had lost to Duan Lingtian. To be precise, he had lost to the bow and arrow in Duan Lingtian's hands. Today, Zhang Zhilong challenged Duan Lingtian, wanting to wipe away his shame and reclaim his dignity and glory. It's about to start. Watching Duan Lingtian and Zhang Zhilong facing off, on the verge of an explosion, the onlookers began to hold their breath, focusing intently on the scene before them. At some point, a middle-aged man wearing silver armor appeared on the balcony of the pavilion. It was the Heavenly Injury Guard. Zhang Zhilong is likely going to humiliate himself again. The Heavenly Injury Guard muttered in a low voice as he watched the two confronting each other on the platform. It was as if he already knew the result before it had even begun. On the platform, seeing that Duan Lingtian had no intention of making the first move, Zhang Zhilong struck first. Transcendent Realm True Qi coiled around his legs as he launched an attack on Duan Lingtian. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Perhaps having learned his lesson from 3 months ago, he seized the initiative to attack Duan Lingtian, his legs exerting more pressure above Duan Lingtian's head, intentionally blocking Duan Lingtian's path to leap into the air. 3 months ago, it was precisely by leaping into the air and briefly hovering that Duan Lingtian had fired an arrow and defeated him. Ink fight. The power in his legs was comparable to the power in Duan Lingtian's arrow, but because of the advantage of the bow and arrow, he was injured by the shock. That had also become the primary reason for his defeat. With the previous lesson in mind, he had learned from it this time and would not repeat the same mistake. You think you can defeat me like this? After seeing through Zhang Jilung's plan, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but ask with a faint smile, "Whether I can defeat you or not, we'll know in a moment." Hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Zhang Jilung responded coldly. At the same time, the true qi between his legs surged, emitting waves of terrifying air currents as he descended from above, aiming straight for Duan Lingtian's head. Like a mantis trying to stop a chariot, facing Zhang Jilung's thunderous strike, Duan Lingtian gave a disdainful smile. With a flip of his hand, the sun-shooting bow appeared. Immediately after, he placed his hand on the bowstring and then plucked it rapidly. Instantly, the bowstring vibrated, letting out a series of loud bangs. At the same time, true qi light blades appeared on the bowstring, shooting out one after another to meet Zhang Jilung's legs. To be precise, they met the sacred artifact on Zhang Jilung's legs. Zhang Jilung's pair of boots were his sacred artifact, a human rank medium-grade sacred artifact. Clang, 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 clang. The true qi light blades struck Zhang Jilung's boots one by one, producing a series of ear-piercing sounds. Meanwhile, waves of air dispersed like a gale, causing the robes of the onlookers to flutter loudly. However, no one paid attention to that. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the center of the field. Impossible. And right at that moment, everyone heard an unwilling, startled cry. Following that, they clearly saw Zhang Jilung being sent flying backward. Boom. Zhang Jilung's body shot out like an arrow loosed from a bow, slammed into the ground, and coughed up mouthfuls of blood, cut a wretched figure. Nothing's impossible. When he heard Zhang Jilung's unwilling cry as he was sent flying, Duan Lingtian answered with an icy expression. Feeling the stares boring into him from every side, Zhang Jilung's face grew uglier. He didn't even need to look to know they were mocking him. So strong. Gold ingot, ranked third among the 13 protectors, showed shock. When he looked at Duan Lingtian again, he couldn't help adding a bit more caution. He could tell the strength Duan Lingtian had just shown didn't feel like someone who had only just broken through to late profound level. It was almost comparable to peak late profound level. And he himself was a peak late profound level martial cultivator. Impressive. Watching Duan Lingtian turn the tables and defeat Zhang Jilung in a single exchange, even Guo Li, who'd been confident in him from the start, couldn't help exclaiming, "This Duan Lingtian only just broke through to late profound level and already has this kind of power?" Up in the pavilion, the Heavenly Injury Guard was also startled by Duan Lingtian's strength. If he hadn't known that Duan Lingtian used to be a mid-stage transcendent realm martial cultivator, he would never have believed the power just displayed belonged to someone who'd only recently advanced to late profound level. Duan Lingtian's strength is terrifying. Facing Zhang Jilung, who also broke through to late profound level, he actually beat him with a single move. Unbelievable. With Duan Lingtian's current strength, he could probably shake the positions of the top 5 in the 13 protectors. The onlookers buzzed with discussion. More than a few wished Duan Lingtian would challenge the top 5 right now, while the crowd praised Duan Lingtian. Hardly anyone noticed Zhang Jilung cast him a hate-filled glance before returning to Woodhouse number 7. He had challenged Duan Lingtian today, originally to wash away his past disgrace. Having broken through to late profound level, he was full of confidence and thought he could defeat Duan Lingtian. Who could have guessed he'd be beaten in a single exchange? If he'd known it would end like this, he'd never have come out to humiliate himself. How could Duan Lingtian's progress be so huge? Before we broke through, he only edged me out thanks to the range advantage of his bow. But just now, back inside Woodhouse number 7, Zhang Jilung's face looked worse than if his father and mother had died. Moments earlier, most people hadn't even seen clearly what happened before Zhang Jilung was blasted away. Only Zhang Jilung knew how terrifying the true qi blades shot from Duan Lingtian's bowstring were. Every true qi blade that struck the sacred artifact boots on his feet felt like a heavy hammer smashing down. At first he could still endure, but the blades came one after another. In the end, he couldn't hold out and was sent flying, and because of his earlier stubborn resistance, he suffered severe internal injuries. In the next day or two, the city lord will emerge from seclusion. Then he'll set a test and take in 2 or 3 disciples. Thinking of this, Zhang Jilung's heart sank. I hope my injuries won't affect that test, otherwise I'll never forgive that Duan Lingtian. Later, Zhang Jilung was practically gnashing his teeth. Right now, he seemed to have forgotten he was the one who had lost to Duan Lingtian. Guo Li, congratulations. Outside, Duan Lingtian looked at Guo Li and congratulated her on breaking through to late profound level. Guo Li smiled back. Then Duan Lingtian turned to Gold Ingot, ranked third among the 13 protectors, and nodded with a smile. Duan Lingtian, why don't you challenge me? Gold Ingot asked with a grin. Seeing such formidable strength, Gold Ingot itched for a fight. Anyone who could reach the hidden dragon camp and rank third among the 13 protectors was naturally battle-hungry. Next time, Duan Lingtian rather liked Gold Ingot and had no intention of publicly embarrassing him. A few days earlier, he wouldn't have dared say he could beat Gold Ingot, ranked third among the 13 protectors. But now, with the Eerie Eye, things were different. Eerie Eye was the name Duan Lingtian had originally given it, Eerie Eye. In the end, thinking it sounded bad, he changed it to Eerie Eye. Eerie Eye referred to his current left eye, the one that had refined and fused with the one-eyed demonic vulture's eye, inheriting its abilities. Then next time, Gold Ingot nodded, smiled, and made no move to force a fight. After that, Duan Lingtian said goodbye to Guo Li and Gold Ingot and returned to Woodhouse number 6. Seeing this, Guo Li also went back to Woodhouse number 8, barring mishaps. Within the next day or two, the city lord of Qiushan City would emerge. Then he would set a test and choose 2 or 3 of the 13 protectors from the hidden dragon camp to become his disciples. Guo Li very much wanted to become the city lord of Qiushan City's disciple. Once she became his disciple, she would no longer have to fear assassination. The 2 great families on Fuyu Island, though at daggers drawn with her Guo family, still dared not offend the Qiushan City Lord's Mansion. The Qiushan City Lord's Mansion is an 8th-rate force in the Dao Martial Holy Land, far beyond their reach. Once I become the City Lord's disciple, those 2 families won't dare kill me. They'll actually stop others from trying. After all, if I die, suspicion will fall straight on them. Guo Li thought silently. If that happens, the City Lord's rage might wipe them out entirely. 2 mere 9th-rate forces murdering the disciple of an 8th-rate force's leader would be outright provocation. Even putting everything else aside, for the sake of prestige alone, an 8th-rate force would never let those 2 9th-rate forces off the hook. When that moment comes, it will be a case of better to kill the wrong one than let the right one escape. For this very reason, Guo Li was desperate to pass the test set by the City Lord of Qiushan City and become his disciple. The odds are slim, but I'll still give it everything I've got, Guo Li murmured, her expression deadly serious. Indeed, her chances were very slim. Setting aside the top 5 of the 13 protectors, she could not even match Duan Lingtian or Zhang Jilong. Among the 13 protectors, there were 7 she could not surpass. Naturally, her opportunity was remote. Now she could only hope for a miracle. After Guo Li returned to Wooden Hut number 8, Gold Ingot did not linger outside either. He went back to number 3, shut the door, and continued to cultivate, preparing for the test the City Lord would set before long. With Gold Ingot gone, the high platform regained its quiet. Beneath the platform, however, the rundown wooden hut area behind the septic tank was buzzing with chatter. Everyone was still discussing Duan Lingtian's strength. Some also brought up how Duan Lingtian had declined Gold Ingot's suggestion. Do you think Duan Lingtian turned Gold Ingot down because he's scared of him? Someone could not help asking. Possible, someone agreed. More than possible. I'd say Duan Lingtian knows he can't beat Gold Ingot, so he didn't challenge him. If he were confident of victory, he'd definitely replace Gold Ingot and take the 13 protectors' 3rd seat. After all, 3rd place gets more Saint Stones. Yeah, tomorrow's the day to collect them. If Duan Lingtian could beat Gold Ingot and rise to 3rd, he'd receive 1,100 8th-grade Saint Stones. Right now he's 6th, so he only gets 800 8th-grade Saint Stones. The topic set the whole dilapidated area abuzz again. In the end, almost everyone believed that had to be the case. Duan Lingtian and Guo Li are too incredible. They've actually broken through to late profound level. I wonder when I'll manage it. A young man stood in front of a tumble-down hut, muttering to himself. That young man was none other than Zhu Lang, a genius martial cultivator who had joined the Hidden Dragon camp the same day as Duan Lingtian and Guo Li, hailing from the Zhu family of Fengyu Town under Qiushan City's banner. They had entered the camp together, yet Duan Lingtian and Guo Li had stormed into the 13 protectors, an achievement that had stunned him. Now that they ranked near the very top, his feelings were even more mixed. I can't slack off either. Even if I can't catch them, I have to force my way into the 13 protectors. Taking a deep breath, Zhu Lang returned to the hut and trained with utter seriousness. One day later, inside the Seven Treasures' exquisite pagoda, broke through again. An excited, delighted voice rang out from the second floor of the Seven Treasures' exquisite pagoda, Duan Lingtian's voice. At this moment, Duan Lingtian hovered in midair on the second floor. The space inside the pagoda was not bound by Qiushan City's no-fly formation, so he could soar and fly freely. Coppery light rippled across his body as he stood aloft. He wore only a pair of trousers, his upper body bare. His slightly bulging muscles formed a lean, powerful frame now sheathed in a copper garment. The defensive move of the low-grade Saint-grade martial art, Copper Shirt. Duan Lingtian's joy came from Copper Shirt's breakthrough into the second realm of Saint-grade martial art moves, initial mastery. I can feel that after circulating Copper Shirt my body's become even tougher. Clenching both fists, he could not contain his excitement. Suddenly he punched out without using true chi. The blow shook the air and sent a vast shockwave slamming straight into the wall. Bang! An explosion rang out as gales of air swept across the entire second floor of the Seven Treasures' exquisite pagoda. Now, even without using the eerie eye, martial cultivators or Dao cultivators at the peak late profound level might not be my match. After the breakthrough of the copper cloth shirt, Duan Lingtian was full of confidence. His body was already strong. Once he used the copper cloth shirt, it was like adding wings to a tiger. Combined with the true chi surging from his 32 sacred meridians in an instant, he would surely be invincible. Today seems to be the day to collect saint stones. After a moment of excitement, Duan Lingtian came back to his senses and remembered that today was the day for Hidden Dragon camp members to collect saint stones. I've already missed 2 months. I can't miss this month. With a thought, Duan Lingtian left the Seven Treasures' exquisite pagoda and returned to Wooden House number 6. After putting away the Seven Treasures' exquisite pagoda, he left the wooden house and headed straight for the nearby pavilion. Currently, many people were entering and leaving the pavilion, clearly Hidden Dragon camp members going to collect saint stones. As Duan Lingtian walked along, he attracted many people's attention wherever he went. It's Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian is ranked 6th among the 13 protectors. He can collect 800 8th grade saint stones every month. It's truly enviable. Yeah, each of us only gets 10 8th grade saint stones, but he gets 800, which is almost equal to all of ours combined. In the dilapidated wooden house area below the high platform, many people shook their heads and sighed. Comparing oneself to others only brings frustration. Duan Lingtian walked into the pavilion and came before the Heavenly Injury Guard. He had intended to collect 800 8th grade saint stones, but he ended up receiving 2,400 instead. At this, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but be stunned. The last 3 months have been a special period. The Heavenly Leader Guard ordered that, to avoid affecting the 13 protectors cultivate, the saint stones they collect each month during these 3 months can be distributed cumulatively. The Heavenly Injury Guard still had a cold face as he said coolly. Duan Lingtian realized. After offering his thanks, he turned and left. Special period? Is it referring to the city lord of Qiushan City coming out of seclusion to take disciples? True. Over these 3 months, it's not just me. Others among the 13 protectors must have also forgotten to collect their saint stones. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. With the city lord of Qiushan City's test and disciple recruitment imminent, the 13 protectors were all cultivating day and night. It was not impossible for them to occasionally forget to collect their saint stones. Putting away the 2,400 8th grade saint stones, Duan Lingtian left the pavilion and headed back to Wooden House number 6. However, just as he reached the entrance of Wooden House number 6, he was stopped by someone. Duan Lingtian frowned at the person in front of him and asked, "Is something the matter? Stay away from Guo Li in the future." The person standing before Duan Lingtian said to him in a cold voice. Based on what? Duan Lingtian's brow relaxed as he looked at the person with interest and asked flatly, "Based on the fact that she is my, Zheng Jian's, future woman." The person standing before Duan Lingtian was none other than the one ranked 5th among the 13 protectors, Zheng Jian. This Zheng Jian was also the distant cousin of Hu Jie, who had come from Fengyu Town with Zhu Lang. 3 months ago, in the City Lord's Mansion's council hall, Duan Lingtian had seen him. Back then, he was pestering Guo Li, but Guo Li ignored him. Based on what? based on my fist being bigger than yours. Hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Zheng Jian sneered, his eyes narrowing as a cold light flashed through them. Your fist is bigger than mine? Duan Lingtian smiled. He really didn't know where Zheng Jian got such confidence. Was it because he hadn't challenged him, making him think he was afraid? Duan Lingtian didn't know that Zheng Jian indeed thought this way. For the 13 protectors, the ranking meant that the saint stones collected each month were different. Take the 6th-ranked Duan Lingtian and the 5th-ranked Zheng Jian, for example. Duan Lingtian could collect 800 8th-grade saint stones a month, while Zheng Jian could collect 900. Between the two, there was a difference of exactly 100 8th-grade saint stones. In Zheng Jian's view, the reason Duan Lingtian didn't dare to challenge him was entirely because he was afraid of him. 13 protectors, hear my command. Just as the tension between Duan Lingtian and Zheng Jian was drawing much attention, a thunderous voice descended from the horizon. Hearing the sound, everyone present, including Duan Lingtian, looked up. With just one glance, they saw a green figure standing high in the sky. It was a middle-aged man in green clothes, standing there as steady as a mountain, like a statue. Lord Heavenly Leader Guard. At this time, including the first ranked of the 13 protectors, Ling Yun, the other members of the 13 protectors also came out one by one, respectfully bowing to the middle-aged man in green high in the sky. This Heavenly Leader Guard is indeed a Saint Entry Realm expert. Duan Lingtian, who was also bowing, had a thought. Including the Qiushan City Lord's mansion, the entire Qiushan City was covered by a no-fly formation. Unless one was at the Saint Entry Realm, or above, they could not fly. Now, as the Heavenly Leader Guard stood in the sky, his cultivation level was obvious. At this moment, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but feel a bit lucky. Lucky that 3 months ago in the council hall, he hadn't used the Heavenly Eye Vision to probe this Heavenly Leader Guard's cultivation. At that time, he had almost been unable to contain his curiosity and used the Heavenly Eye Vision to probe the Heavenly Leader Guard. Lord Heavenly Leader Guard? Heavens! The leader of our Qiushan City Lord's Mansion's 36 personal guards, Lord Heavenly Leader Guard, is actually a Saint Entry Realm expert. As the 13 protectors bowed to the Heavenly Leader Guard, a group of Hidden Dragon camp members in the dilapidated wooden house area also learned the identity of the middle-aged man in green standing in the air. Lord Heavenly Leader Guard. For a moment, they all bowed in succession. The city lord has come out of seclusion. Follow me to the council hall to see him. The Heavenly Leader Guard spoke again, and as he spoke this time, his figure slowly descended, landing right at the entrance of the Hidden Dragon camp. Hearing the Heavenly Leader Guard's words and seeing his actions, the 13 protectors, including Duan Lingtian, all flew out and followed behind the Heavenly Leader Guard one by one. Duan Lingtian, consider yourself lucky. At the same time, a true Qi voice transmission reached Duan Lingtian's ear. He could tell it was Zheng Jian's voice. However, Duan Lingtian acted as if he hadn't heard him and directly ignored him. This made Zheng Jian's expression even more unsightly, his eyes filled with killing intent. When he saw Guoli speed up to Duan Lingtian's side and walk shoulder to shoulder with him, his expression became even worse. Duan Lingtian, are you confident? As Guoli walked side by side with Duan Lingtian, following the Heavenly Leader Guard toward the mansion's council hall, she asked via true Qi voice transmission. I don't know. Facing Guoli's inquiry, Duan Lingtian shook his head. He naturally knew what Guoli was asking, which was whether he was confident in passing the test set by the city lord of Qiushan City to become his disciple. And he was telling the truth now. He didn't even know what the test was, so naturally, he didn't know if he was confident. I think you have a great chance. Guoli added, don't just talk about me. What about you? Are you confident? Duan Lingtian asked. Me? I'm not confident. Guoli shook her head with a bitter smile. My strength is inferior even to yours and Zhang Zhilong's, let alone the other 5 ranked at the top of the 13 protectors. We still don't know what the test is. Maybe it's not just a test of strength. Duan Lingtian comforted her. I hope so. Guoli nodded. Zhang Zhilong followed behind, looking at Duan Lingtian's back with a vicious glint in his eyes. Even now, his internal injuries hadn't fully healed, all thanks to the person before him. Now, he only hoped the test wouldn't take place in the next 2 days. Otherwise, he would suffer a great disadvantage. Before long, the Heavenly Leader Guard led Duan Lingtian and the other 13 to the outside of the mansion's council hall and stopped. City Lord, The 13 protectors have arrived. Standing outside the council hall, the heavenly leader guard bowed respectfully and spoke with great humility. Both are Saint Entry Realm experts. That city lord of Choshan City must be stronger than the heavenly leader guard. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. He didn't doubt this at all. Come in. Just as the heavenly leader guard finished speaking, a steady and majestic voice came from inside the council hall, causing the heavenly leader guard to respond immediately. In the next moment, the heavenly leader guard led Duan Lingtian and the others into the council hall. Duan Lingtian was not unfamiliar with the council hall, having been there once 3 months ago. However, today there were 2 more people in the council hall. In the head seat of the council hall sat a middle-aged man in silver robes. The middle-aged man had an air of natural authority, his face as fair as jade, sitting there as steady as a mountain. Invisibly, he exerted an indescribable pressure. Is he the city lord of Choshan City? Duan Lingtian guessed the middle-aged man's identity. At the same time, Duan Lingtian's gaze fell behind the city lord of Choshan City, where a youth in black stood. The youth in black looked ordinary, but his gaze was exceptionally cold and stern. From the moment they entered until now, the youth in black hadn't even looked at them directly. Including the heavenly leader guard, he hadn't spared a single glance. It was as if he completely ignored them. What an arrogant person, Duan Lingtian thought to himself. City Lord. At this time, Duan Lingtian and the other 12 of the 13 protectors followed the heavenly leader guard in bowing to the city lord of Choshan City. The city lord of Choshan City nodded expressionlessly. Lesser perfection of the mortal shedding realm. Just then, Duan Lingtian's heart involuntarily trembled, because he had used the heavenly eye vision to probe the cultivation of the youth in black behind the city lord of Choshan City. Lesser perfection of the mortal shedding realm. 37 years old. After discovering the other's age, Duan Lingtian's heart surged again. Only 2 years older than me, yet already at the lesser perfection of the mortal shedding realm. Although he's a bit behind Ling Yun, he also seems to be someone from the mortal continent. Duan Lingtian had already guessed. This youth in black was the only disciple currently under the city lord of Choshan City. In an instant, Duan Lingtian felt a massive wave of mental energy sweep over him. This mental energy instantly enveloped his entire body, making him feel as though he had nowhere to hide. Duan Lingtian knew that the city lord of Choshan City was investigating them. The gaze of the city lord of Choshan City finally landed on the young man in green robes who carried a sheathed longsword on his back. You must be Ling Yun, the leader of the 13 protectors? Suddenly, the city lord of Choshan City narrowed his eyes and stared at the youth in green robes with electric-like intensity, asking indifferently. Yes, in front of the city lord of Choshan City, Ling Yun dared not be negligent. Not bad, not bad. At merely 30 years old, you have already achieved a breakthrough to the lesser perfection of the mortal shedding realm. Your future is limitless. The city lord of Choshan City nodded, a hint of appreciation in his eyes. Lesser perfection of the mortal shedding realm? As soon as the city lord of Choshan City spoke these words, everyone present, except for Ling Yun himself and Duan Lingtian, including the heavenly leader guard and the youth in black standing behind the city lord of Choshan City, was moved. It really is the lesser perfection of the mortal shedding realm. The heavenly leader guard was the first to react, his mental energy sweeping toward Ling Yun's location, quickly using a mental secret technique to investigate Ling Yun's cultivation. The mental secret technique used to investigate cultivation is different from the mental secret technique used to investigate age. For the latter, success is possible as long as the target's cultivation is not one major realm higher than the investigator's. In other words, a martial cultivator or Dao cultivator in the early stage of the transcendent realm can use a mental secret technique to determine the age of a martial cultivator or Dao cultivator at the great perfection of the mortal transformation realm. For the former, only someone whose cultivation is one major realm higher than the target can successfully investigate. That is to say, only a martial cultivator or Dao cultivator above the Saint Entry realm can investigate the specific cultivation level of a martial cultivator or Dao cultivator at the transcendent realm level. Of course, Duan Lingtian's heavenly eye vision does not have this restriction. The heavenly leader guard is also in existence in the Saint Entry realm, and he easily investigated Ling Yun's cultivation. Although Ling Yun had already achieved a breakthrough to the lesser perfection of the mortal shedding realm 3 months ago, When he arrived at the assembly hall, the Heavenly Leader Guard did not investigate his cultivation at that time. Therefore, he only now realized that Ling Yun was already a martial cultivator at the lesser perfection of the mortal shedding realm. Ling Yun actually achieved a breakthrough to the lesser perfection of the mortal shedding realm. The other 11 members of the 13 protectors, excluding Ling Yun himself and Duan Lingtian, showed a hint of shock when they looked at Ling Yun again, especially Xiong Hu, whose face was full of bitterness. A few days ago, he had noticed signs that he was about to achieve a breakthrough to the lesser perfection of the mortal shedding realm. He originally thought he would be the first among the 13 protectors to reach the lesser perfection of the mortal shedding realm, but he never expected Ling Yun to have already broken through ahead of him. This left him feeling powerless. The youth in black standing behind the city lord of Qiushan City looked at Ling Yun, and intense battle intent surged up in his eyes. Ling Yun, I have decided on the trial for you. The city lord of Qiushan City spoke again, successfully capturing everyone's attention, especially the other 12 members of the 13 protectors, including Duan Lingtian, whose eyes lit up. What kind of trial would this city lord set for Ling Yun? Would the trial set for Ling Yun be the same as the one they were about to face? Their hearts were full of anticipation. Hearing the words of the city lord of Qiushan City, Ling Yun's eyes also brightened. Even the Heavenly Leader Guard looked at the city lord of Qiushan City with anticipation. Ling Yun, my disciple, Su Qi, is also at the lesser perfection of the mortal shedding realm, just like you. As long as you can withstand 3 moves from him without defeat, I will accept you as my disciple. Finally, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the city lord of Qiushan City spoke, revealing the trial he had set for Ling Yun. Hearing the words of the city lord of Qiushan City, the youth in black, Su Qi, standing behind him, had his eyes light up. He immediately stepped forward, stood beside the city lord of Qiushan City, and stared at Ling Yun with electric-like intensity. He is Su Qi, the city lord's disciple, a genius martial cultivator from the mortal continent. I didn't expect the city lord's disciple to also be a martial cultivator at the lesser perfection of the mortal shedding realm. However, since both are martial cultivators at the lesser perfection of the mortal shedding realm, isn't the trial the city lord set for Ling Yun a bit too simple? I think so too. Many among the 13 protectors whispered among themselves. They all felt that the trial the city lord of Qiushan City set for Ling Yun was very simple for him. Of course, even though they found it simple, they held no dissatisfaction. Ling Yun, at only 30 years old, was already a martial cultivator at the lesser perfection of the mortal shedding realm. They would not be surprised if a genius like him were exempted from the trial and immediately became the disciple of the city lord of Qiushan City. Hearing the words of the city lord of Qiushan City, Ling Yun's brow furrowed almost imperceptibly. He disliked the feeling of being looked down upon. Ling Yun, make your move. I want to see if you, the leader of the 13 protectors, are qualified to become my junior brother. Su Qi looked directly at Ling Yun and said indifferently, fight here. Just as Duan Lingtian and the others were stunned upon hearing Su Qi's words, Ling Yun had already moved, and the long sword on his back was drawn with a clang. A 3-foot sword beam shot out, pointing directly at Su Qi. Although he felt that the city lord of Qiushan City looked down on him, and anger arose in his heart because of it. Ling Yun subconsciously felt that the trial the city lord of Qiushan City set for him was not that simple. Therefore, he attacked immediately, choosing to strike first. What fast swordplay! Duan Lingtian was surprised to find that in his right eye, Ling Yun, along with his sword, had turned into an elusive phantom. In his left eye, Ling Yun's speed was also extremely fast. The reason his left eye was different was that it inherited the ability of the one-eyed demonic vulture's eye. Of course, calling it a talent also works. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. In the blink of an eye, Ling Yun had stabbed 13 times. Every stab was real, thrust out by the medium-grade human-rank sacred artifact, sword in his hand, blooming with dazzling sword beams. Where the sword beams passed, they seemed intent on leaving 13 bloody holes on Su Qi's body. What surprised Duan Lingtian was this. Facing Ling Yun's preemptive, thunderous assault, Su Qi's expression remained unchanged from beginning to end. Only when Ling Yun, man and sword, arrived close by, did he finally move. Whoosh! He was seen slightly bending his knees, and the next moment, he shot up, leaping into the air, narrowly dodging the 13 solidified sword beams that swept out from Ling Yun's hand. Seeing the 13 sword beams being dodged, Ling Yun did not seem overly surprised. A sharp light flashed in his eyes, and he leaned backward. At the same time, Su Qi's thunderous palm also descended. The palm print, solidified by true qi, swept past the cheek of the backward-leaning Ling Yun. Just as the palm print was about to land on one side of the assembly hall, shattering one of the seats, the heavenly leader guard made his move. With a large palm strike, without any true qi visibly appearing, the palm print exploded in midair, turning into nothingness, leaving behind only a rampaging gust of wind. The seats on one side of the assembly hall were blown swaying. One move. Duan Lingtian's heart stirred. Perhaps the other members of the 13 protectors did not clearly see what just happened, but his silently activated Eri I saw everything clearly. While Su Qi dodged Ling Yun's attack, he simultaneously struck a palm at Ling Yun from the air. The speed of that palm strike was definitely not something an ordinary martial cultivator at the lesser perfection of the mortal shedding realm could unleash. However, Ling Yun was also no ordinary martial cultivator at the lesser perfection of the mortal shedding realm. He safely dodged Su Qi's palm strike. Good. The city lord of Qiushan City laughed. Su Qi hasn't used a sacred artifact yet. Duan Lingtian thought inwardly. Perhaps confirming Duan Lingtian's thought, Su Qi, who had leaped up and then descended, now held a narrow saber in his hand. It was crescent moon-shaped, flashing with intimidating cold light. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Just as Su Qi was about to land, Ling Yun did not give him the chance. While Su Qi had nowhere to exert force, the 3-foot green edge in his hand bloomed, transforming into 5 even faster sword beams. The speed of these 5 sword beams far surpassed the 13 stabs he had just unleashed. Strike him while he is weak. The current Ling Yun was quite aggressive once he gained the advantage. Good timing. Su Qi, however, did not panic. Facing Ling Yun's 5 lightning-fast stabs, he shouted softly. The true qi on his narrow saber surged, and it immediately flew out of his hand. Buzz, 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 buzz. The narrow saber left his hand and quickly spun in the air. It actually rotated beneath Su Qi like a fan. Su Qi stood steadily atop it, as if treading on solid ground. Clang, 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 clang. 5 consecutive grating sounds rang out almost simultaneously. It was Ling Yun's 5 rapid stabs being blocked by Su Qi. To be precise, they were blocked by the continuously rotating saber beneath him, which resembled a fan. What a brilliant defensive move. Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up. Now 2 moves have passed. As long as Ling Yun blocks one more move, he will pass the trial and can become the disciple of the city lord of Qiushan City. If I were Ling Yun, for the next move, I would either passively defend with all my strength against Su Qi's incoming attack, or seize the initiative and unleash a storm-like assault to overwhelm Su Qi. Duan Lingtian mused inwardly. Almost as soon as Duan Lingtian's thoughts settled, Ling Yun had already made his choice at the fastest speed possible. He chose the latter. He was seen kicking off the ground with both legs, causing the floor to split apart, forming hideous, spiderweb-like cracks. Following this, his entire being seemed to transform into a sword, soaring toward the heavens. Clang! A louder, more grating sound came. Ling Yun's sword forcibly tore open the defensive saber technique Su Qi had deployed, shooting straight towards Su Qi, as if intending to pierce Su Qi entirely from bottom to top. Duan Lingtian noticed. Su Qi's expression also became serious at this moment. Gone was the casualness he had shown before. He was serious now. Bang! He was seen raising his leg and kicking the saber beneath him, using the force to shoot up into the air. At this moment, the saber beneath his feet traced a perfect arc and returned steadily to his hand. Swish! Ling Yun, man and sword, followed the momentum and soared into the sky, his sword chasing after Su Qi. In the blink of an eye, Su Qi turned around in the air, his legs kicking backward without warning, and the shockwave formed by true qi heavily struck the atmosphere. Boom! Immediately, a loud bang spread out, and the rolling shockwave propelled him downward like an arrow released from a bow. He met Ling Yun's sword head-on. One moved upward, the other downward. The sword light surged first, followed closely by the blade light, fiercely clashing together like 2 blazing suns competing for glory in the sky. Clang! Boom! The sword and blade clashed, like two blazing suns overlapping and then exploding. In an instant, the brilliance of the blazing suns raged forth. A sonic boom echoed in the air, and an overwhelming gale swept out in all directions. Just as many furnishings inside the deliberation hall were about to be overturned, the heavenly leader guard intervened at the crucial moment, blocking the vast, rolling gale. While, at the same time, everyone heard the sound of someone spitting blood. It was Ling Yun, who, after landing with his sword, knelt on one knee, his sword bracing him against the ground. His face was pale, and he continuously spat out mouthfuls of congested blood, appearing utterly wretched. Whoosh! Meanwhile, Su Qi landed steadily. A faint flush appeared on his face, clearly caused by the surging qi and blood within his body. However, he was not injured. Clamor. This scene caused an uproar throughout the entire venue. Both were at the lesser perfection of the mortal shedding realm, yet Su Qi defeated the preemptive Ling Yun in just 3 moves. At this moment, the other 11 of the 13 protectors, excluding Duan Lingtian, felt that their achievements were utterly insignificant when compared to Su Qi. As expected of the city lord's disciple, many people sighed inwardly. Seeing is believing. Su Qi's strength convinced everyone. This Su Qi's strength. I fear he has already reached the peak of the lesser perfection of the mortal shedding realm. He is only one step away from being able to break through to the great perfection of the mortal transformation realm. Duan Lingtian looked at Su Qi and thought to himself, 3 moves, I lost. After Ling Yun took a healing medicinal pill and recovered some of his injuries, he looked at the city lord of Qiushan City with a bitter expression and spoke. Now, no one believed that the city lord of Qiushan City had merely set up a formality test for Ling Yun. Ling Yun failed this seemingly formal test. I will give you one more chance. If, 1 month from now, you can withstand 3 moves from Su Qi without being defeated, I will take you as my disciple. Now go back. The city lord of Qiushan City looked at Ling Yun and said, Thank you, Lord City Lord. Hearing that he had another chance, Ling Yun's eyes lit up. After standing up, he quickly left the deliberation hall and went back to the hidden dragon camp to cultivate. After Ling Yun left, everyone's attention fell upon Su Qi. The strength Su Qi had just displayed was shocking. At this moment, Su Qi also returned to stand behind the city lord of Qiushan City, his expression as stern as before. I heard that one of the 13 protectors also comes from the mortal continent. The city lord of Qiushan City's gaze swept over the remaining 12 of the 13 protectors as he asked, Lord City Lord. Duan Lingtian stepped forward. Lord City Lord. On the very first day Duan Lingtian arrived at the hidden dragon camp, he became one of the 13 protectors. A month ago, he even made a breakthrough to the late profound level and defeated Ho Lin, who had also broken through to the late profound level. The heavenly leader guard said. Ho Lin was also present. Hearing the heavenly leader guard's words, his expression slightly darkened, his fists clenched tightly, and his body trembled faintly. He would never forget the humiliation from a month ago. Duan Lingtian, I will make you regret this. I will definitely make you regret this. Ho Lin stared at Duan Lingtian's back, roaring continuously in his heart. Late profound level? Wasn't he at the mid-stage transcendent realm? Hearing the heavenly leader guard's words, the city lord of Qiushan City frowned. As soon as the city lord of Qiushan City spoke, Duan Lingtian knew his cultivation base was about to be exposed. However, he didn't care. He hadn't stolen anything, so there was no need to hide it. Mid-stage transcendent realm? The words of the city lord of Qiushan City stunned everyone, including the heavenly leader guard, who let out a low gasp. Immediately afterward, he used a mental secret technique to investigate Duan Lingtian's cultivation base. After detecting the result, his expression became exceptionally complex. He really is only at the mid-stage transcendent realm. Duan Lingtian, you are only at the mid-stage transcendent realm? Yes, Duan Lingtian nodded. He could sense the heavenly leader guard's mental energy, probing him, and knew the heavenly leader guard had detected his cultivation base. Impossible. Just then, 2 people cried out in surprise. They were Ho Lin, whom Duan Lingtian had defeated a month ago, and Zhang Zhilong, whom Duan Lingtian had defeated just yesterday. They had fought Duan Lingtian and knew how powerful he was. They absolutely could not believe that Duan Lingtian's cultivation base was only at the mid-stage transcendent realm. Both the city lord and I have investigated Duan Lingtian's cultivation base using a mental secret technique. His cultivation base is indeed at the mid-stage transcendent realm. The heavenly leader guard snorted softly, his cold gaze sweeping over Ho Lin and Zhang Jilong. What? Are you doubting the words of the city lord and me? Do you think the city lord and I are suffering from old age and blurred vision? Ho Lin dares not. Zhang Jilong dares not. Only then did Ho Lin and Zhang Jilong realize their lapse in decorum, and they hurriedly lowered their heads. At this moment, the gazes of the 11 members of the 13 protectors, including Guo Li, toward Duan Lingtian completely changed. Mid-stage transcendent realm defeating the late profound level Ho Lin? A few days ago, Guo Li broke through to the late profound level and defeated Ho Lin, who was also at the late profound level. Then, Guo Li was defeated by Zhang Jilong, who had also broken through to the late profound level. At this point, Gold Ingot, ranked second among the 13 protectors, spoke up. And just yesterday, Zhang Jilong was defeated by Duan Lingtian in a single exchange. As he spoke, Gold Ingot looked at Duan Lingtian, his gaze particularly complex. Yesterday, he personally witnessed Duan Lingtian making a move. At that time, he almost concluded that Duan Lingtian was, like himself, an existence at the peak of the late profound level. But today, after being investigated by the two great Saint Entry Realm experts, the City Lord of Qiushan City and the Heavenly Leader Guard, he realized that Duan Lingtian was merely a mid-stage transcendent realm martial cultivator. Duan Lingtian, your cultivation base is really only at the mid-stage transcendent realm? Guo Li asked, her face filled with disbelief. Yes, Duan Lingtian nodded. What about 3 months ago? What was your cultivation base the first time you defeated Zhang Jilong? Guo Li asked again. As soon as Guo Li said this, the group among the 13 protectors, including the Heavenly Leader Guard, suddenly remembered. 3 months ago, Duan Lingtian had defeated Zhang Jilong before he had broken through. At that time, Duan Lingtian hadn't displayed overwhelming strength. He had merely gained a slight advantage over Zhang Jilong using the superiority of his bow and arrow. 3 months ago, I was at the early stage of mortal shedding realm, Duan Lingtian said. Boom. Duan Lingtian's words caused 1,000 ripples with one stone, astonishing everyone once again. Are you saying, whether it was when you first defeated Zhang Jilong, or when you defeated Li Han to become one of the 13 protectors, at that time, you were only an early-stage martial cultivator of the mortal shedding realm? Guo Li gasped sharply. Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded. For a moment, most people present looked at Duan Lingtian as if they were looking at a monster. The early stage of mortal shedding realm, securing a place among the 13 protectors. This is simply monstrous. Ho Lin and Zhang Jilong are truly useless, disgracing us late profound level martial cultivators. They couldn't even defeat a mere mid-stage transcendent realm martial cultivator. Zhang Jian, ranked 5th among the 13 protectors, glanced at Ho Lin and Zhang Jilong and sneered inwardly. Now, he was even more confident about defeating Duan Lingtian. A mere mid-stage transcendent realm martial cultivator was insignificant in his eyes. At this moment, he seemed completely unaware that Duan Lingtian had defeated Zhang Jilong when he was at the early stage of mortal shedding realm. Zhang Jilong, who was once publicly recognized as the #1 mid-stage transcendent realm expert in the area surrounding Qiushan City. Su Qi, who had seemed bored after defeating Ling Yun, now looked at Duan Lingtian with interest after hearing about his deeds. This martial cultivator genius, who, like him, originated from the mortal continent, seemed far from ordinary. The early stage of mortal shedding realm sweeping across the mid-stage transcendent realm. After breaking through to the mid-stage transcendent realm, he successively defeated 2 late profound level martial cultivators. The City Lord of Qiushan City's gaze toward Duan Lingtian also completely changed. Your name is Duan Lingtian, correct? Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded. Duan Lingtian, if I haven't guessed wrong, you aren't entirely human, are you? The City Lord of Qiushan City asked. Not entirely human? Duan Lingtian was startled. Seeing Duan Lingtian's reaction, the City Lord of Qiushan City felt even more certain of his guess. It seems you are indeed not entirely human. One of your parents must be a sacred beast, right? And a sacred beast with a powerful physical body. Sacred beast. As soon as the City Lord of Qiushan City said this, everyone's eyes simultaneously fell upon Duan Lingtian. Only beings born from the union of a mortal and a sacred beast possess a powerful physical body, making it possible for them to defeat opponents above their level, like you. A wise glint flashed in the city lord of Qiushan City's eyes. Duan Lingtian, am I correct in my guess? Duan Lingtian showed a look of astonishment. He hadn't expected the city lord of Qiushan City's eyesight to be so vicious. After learning that he could easily defeat opponents above his level, the city lord actually guessed that the reason for his immense strength was related to his physical body. The others were also greatly shocked. So Duan Lingtian is a being born from the union of a mortal and a sacred beast. No wonder he can defeat opponents above his level. It seems he inherited the powerful physical body of a sacred beast. Many people showed a hint of dread in their eyes when they looked at Duan Lingtian. To put it bluntly, isn't he just a hybrid? Zheng Jian coldly snorted and said disdainfully. The only reason he can defeat opponents above his level is that everyone he meets is trash. If it were me, I could defeat him in 2 or 3 moves. As he finished speaking, he glanced meaningfully at Ho Lin and Zhang Jilong. This caused the faces of the latter two to change drastically, their eyes filling with anger. However, hearing Zheng Jian's words, although Ho Lin and Zhang Jilong were furious, they didn't dare do anything and could only endure in silence, because they knew they were no match for Zheng Jian. Bastard, defeat me in 2 or 3 moves. Compared to Ho Lin and Zhang Jilong, Duan Lingtian was different. After hearing Zheng Jian's words, his expression became incredibly gloomy, and a sharp light flickered in his eyes. Just as he turned his head to look at Zheng Jian, preparing to lash out, a sharp shout suddenly rang out. Presumptuous! The city lord of Qiushan City's voice was like a clap of thunder, shaking the entire council chamber as if it were trembling, while also startling Duan Lingtian. Bang! Before Duan Lingtian could even look at the city lord of Qiushan City, he saw Zheng Jian's body tremble in his field of vision, then fly out like an arrow from a bow, crashing into a pillar in the council chamber. The pillar swayed slightly, and some dust fell. Immediately after, Zheng Jian slid down the pillar and fell to the ground, blood continuously spewing from his mouth in a wretched state. Lord City Lord, Zheng Jian knows his mistake. Zheng Jian knows his mistake. Ignoring the injuries inside his body, Zheng Jian knelt on the ground, prostrating before the city lord of Qiushan City, his body shivering. Zheng Jian, how dare you, to be so presumptuous in front of Lord City Lord. The heavenly leader guard's expression was also very ugly. Know your mistake? Where did you go wrong? The city lord of Qiushan City snorted. Zheng Jian's mistake was speaking out of turn in front of Lord City Lord. Zheng Jian's head was pressed against the ground as he spoke with a trembling voice. If there is a next time, you will die. Hearing Zheng Jian's words, the city lord of Qiushan City's cold gaze fell on him, and he spoke in a calm tone. Although the tone was calm, the killing intent within it was obvious. Thank you, Lord City Lord. Zheng Jian hurriedly thanked him, standing up and taking a healing medicinal pill. His gaze toward Duan Lingtian became increasingly cold and full of hatred. At this moment, the anger in his heart was difficult to suppress. He didn't dare direct his anger toward the city lord of Qiushan City, so he shifted it onto Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't have provoked Lord City Lord. It's all your fault. If I get the chance, I will definitely kill you. I will definitely kill you. Zheng Jian roared almost crazily in his heart. Although he didn't know Zheng Jian's thoughts, after seeing Zheng Jian's gaze filled with killing intent, Duan Lingtian guessed that Zheng Jian was harboring murderous intent toward him. Zheng Jian, for a moment, killing intent also flashed in his eyes. Duan Lingtian, you haven't answered my question yet. Was my guess correct? The city lord of Qiushan City looked at Duan Lingtian again, the coldness on his face gone, replaced by a smile as he asked. This scene made Zheng Jian's expression even uglier. Lord City Lord, I am not a descendant born of a human and a sacred beast. Duan Lingtian spoke truthfully. You're not. The city lord of Qiushan City frowned and said with a look of confusion, that shouldn't be. If you aren't a descendant of a human and a sacred beast, how can you have the ability to defeat enemies at a higher level? Or perhaps, you are a sacred beast that has transformed into a human? As he muttered to himself toward the end, the city lord of Qiushan City's eyes lit up. Although the city lord of Qiushan City was muttering to himself, because the council chamber was very quiet, almost everyone present heard his words. In an instant, Duan Lingtian once again became the focus of attention. A sacred beast transformed into a human? Hearing the city lord of Choshan City's increasingly far-fetched claims, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but say with a bitter smile, Lord City Lord, not only am I not a descendant of a human and a sacred beast, but I'm also not a sacred beast transformed into a human. I am a human martial cultivator through and through. Impossible. The city lord of Choshan City shook his head and said decisively, if you were a human martial cultivator through and through, it would be impossible for you to have such exaggerated ability to defeat enemies at a higher level. Yeah, how is that possible? It seems Duan Lingtian still wants to hide his identity. At this point, even if he's incredibly eloquent, he won't be able to hide it anymore. Many people whispered, Lord City Lord. Duan Lingtian looked at the city lord of Choshan City and said, as far as I know, the Dao Martial Holy Land has an item called a body testing stone. Although a body testing stone has no ability to help one against enemies, it can be used to verify whether a person is a sacred beast transformed into a human or a descendant of a human and a sacred beast. Body testing stone. As soon as Duan Lingtian said this, the city lord of Choshan City frowned. Although a body testing stone isn't anything extraordinary, it is still inscribed by a Saint Rune Master. We don't have that thing in our Choshan City. When the city lord of Choshan City said this, it caused another stir. Duan Lingtian's scheme is quite deep. Knowing that our Choshan City doesn't have a body testing stone, he still insisted on mentioning it. I think he did it on purpose. Does he really think that by bringing up the body testing stone, we'll believe he's a human through and through? Many more people whispered. This time, even Guoli couldn't help but look at Duan Lingtian with a few more hints of doubt. After all, Duan Lingtian's means of defeating enemies at a higher level were too exaggerated. She also couldn't believe that Duan Lingtian was a human martial cultivator through and through. In the long history of the Dao Martial Holy Land, she had never heard of such a human martial cultivator. Even the legendary powerhouses who opened 81 sacred meridians only possessed the ability to defeat enemies at a higher level after breaking through to the Saint Entry realm. Then I have no other way. Duan Lingtian shrugged and said very candidly, besides, whether I am a human martial cultivator through and through shouldn't have any impact on me, right? Just when most people thought this matter was coming to an end. Lord City Lord, half a month ago, I heard that old Ninth got a body testing stone in his hands. He originally wanted to put it up for auction at the Rare Treasure Pavilion, but in the end, he didn't bring it out because he felt it wouldn't fetch much of a price. The Heavenly Leader Guard looked at the city lord of Choshan City and said, Heavenly Hero Guard, he has a body testing stone. The city lord of Choshan City's eyes lit up. You, go quickly and find the Heavenly Hero Guard. The Heavenly Hero Guard was the old Ninth the Heavenly Leader Guard spoke of. Among the 36 personal guards of the Choshan City Lord's mansion, he was the person ranked 9th, known as the Heavenly Hero Guard, and his current name to the outside world was Lin Qingro. Yes, the Heavenly Leader Guard responded and left, and many people began to gloat. It seems that this time Duan Lingtian is going to lift a stone only to drop it on his own feet. However, facing this gloating, Duan Lingtian remained calm, his expression unchanging even if Mount Tai were to collapse before him. The city lord of Choshan City also noticed Duan Lingtian's calmness. He couldn't help but feel suspicious. Is this Duan Lingtian really not afraid of being tested by the body testing stone? Or is he just putting up a front, refusing to give up until the very last moment? Su Qi, standing behind the city lord of Choshan City, also had a hint of doubt in his gaze. Lord City Lord. Not long after, the Heavenly Leader Guard returned, bringing back a person, the 9th-ranked Heavenly Hero Guard among the 36 personal guards, Lin Qingrong. Lin Qingrong stood before the city lord of Choshan City and bowed. Heavenly Hero Guard, I heard from the Heavenly Leader Guard that you obtained a body testing stone some time ago. The city lord of Choshan City asked. Yes, Lord City Lord. Lin Qingrong nodded. Can you lend it to this city lord for a moment? The city lord of Choshan City asked. Of course. Lin Qingrong nodded hurriedly. Then with a wave of his hand, a small, crystal-clear stone appeared in his hand, looking like an irregular crystal. Then, he handed the small stone to the city lord of Choshan City. This is the body testing stone. Duan Lingtian looked at the small stone Lin Qingrong handed to the city lord of Choshan City with a look of doubt. Although he had heard of the existence of the body testing stone, he had never seen one. Today was his first time seeing it. The body-testing stone was similar to the demon-revealing mirror of the Yunxiao continent, yet also different. As the body-testing stone reached the city lord of Qiushan City's hands, everyone's gaze except for Lin Qingrong's fell on the body-testing stone. They also wanted to see if Duan Lingtian was just putting up a front earlier. Only Lin Qingrong's gaze fell on Duan Lingtian, filled with shock. Coming to the council chamber, he had also heard from the heavenly leader guard about how Duan Lingtian was only at the early stage of mortal shedding realm when he first brought him back. Furthermore, he also knew that Duan Lingtian had now broken through to the mid-stage transcendent realm and had defeated 2 late profound level martial cultivators in a row. At first, he didn't dare believe it either. But when the heavenly leader guard said that he and the city lord had witnessed it with their own eyes, he had no choice but to believe it. Now, he also knew that the city lord's purpose for borrowing the body-testing stone from him was to verify if Duan Lingtian was truly just a pure human martial cultivator. Whoosh! At this moment, a soft sound came, which also drew Lin Qingrong's gaze. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the city lord of Qiushan City held the body-testing stone, his true qi merging into it, causing the Saint Rune on the body-testing stone to flash. After the Saint Rune flashed, a golden luster rose. Not long after, a barrier similar to a mirror appeared in the void realm, reflecting a figure. The owner of this figure was none other than Duan Lingtian. However, Duan Lingtian's reflection in the mirror was completely unchanged. One must know that after the mirror barrier condensed by the body-testing stone appeared, if it were facing someone who was a sacred beast transformed into a human, that person's sacred beast form would appear inside. If it were facing a descendant born of a human and a sacred beast, a phantom of a sacred beast would appear behind that person. However, none of these anomalies appeared. You are really just a human? The city lord of Qiushan City was the first to react. Although the body-testing stone had given a result, he still asked with some surprise, Duan Lingtian is really just a human martial cultivator? Could there be something wrong with the body-testing stone? Probably not, as the heavenly leader guard, the heavenly hero guard, and Su Qi also came to their senses. People one after another followed suit, each unable to help but lower their voices and whisper. With Zheng Jian as a prior example, they didn't dare be presumptuous in front of the city lord of Qiushan City. What? Even at this point, Lord City Lord, you still don't believe me? Duan Lingtian didn't expect that even at this stage, the city lord of Qiushan City would still ask such a question. For a moment, he felt somewhat speechless in his heart. Duan Lingtian's counter-question left the city lord of Qiushan City rather embarrassed. After all, from the very start he had been convinced Duan Lingtian was not a pure human martial cultivator. Now the facts were staring him in the face, leaving him no room for disbelief. Duan Lingtian, would you mind telling us how you managed to defeat an opponent above your level? The city lord of Qiushan City asked. Immediately, every burning gaze in the room, including those of the heavenly leader guard and the heavenly hero guard, fell upon Duan Lingtian. They were equally curious. Lord City Lord, you actually got one thing right, Duan Lingtian said to the city lord of Qiushan City. Namely, my body is indeed far stronger than an ordinary human's. The city lord of Qiushan City's eyes brightened. However, the reason my body is strong has nothing to do with sacred beasts. It's because I once obtained an opportunity. Duan Lingtian finished in one breath, and everyone's eyes lit up. Quite a few even felt greed stirring in their hearts. But what Duan Lingtian said next dispelled the greed that had just risen. That opportunity was a strange spirit fruit. After I swallowed it, my body began to transform. Later, I returned to that place many times, but never found another such fruit. Duan Lingtian added, I never imagined a fruit like that existed in this world. Obtaining it counts as your own opportunity. The city lord of Qiushan City said with a sigh. The others nodded in agreement. Duan Lingtian, you hit it so well. When you first came back with me, you were only an early stage of mortal shedding realm martial cultivator. Lin Qingrong complained to Duan Lingtian via voice transmission. At that time, I don't recall ever claiming I wasn't an early stage of mortal shedding realm martial cultivator, nor did I ever claim I was a mid-stage transcendent realm martial cultivator. Duan Lingtian shrugged and replied via voice transmission. You? Lin Qingrong was momentarily speechless. Thinking back carefully, Duan Lingtian had indeed never said he wasn't an early stage of mortal shedding realm martial cultivator, nor had he claimed to be a mid-stage transcendent realm martial cultivator. From the outset, it had simply been his own assumption. Heavenly Hero Guard, I hear you were the one who brought Duan Lingtian back. I'll remember this contribution. After returning this stone of examination to Lin Qingrong, the city lord of Qiushan City said to him, Lord City Lord, it was my duty. Lin Qingrong answered hurriedly, though joy was written all over his face. Lord City Lord, if there is nothing else, I'll take my leave. Lin Qingrong added, You may go. The city lord of Qiushan City nodded. Once Lin Qingrong left the council hall, peace returned. The remaining 11 of the 13 protectors now looked at Duan Lingtian with eyes full of envy, jealousy, and resentment. To actually find a fruit like that, this Duan Lingtian's luck is outrageously good. That was what most of them were thinking. Of course, some more ugly expressions. Among them Ho Lin, Zhang Jilong, and Zheng Jian. Su Qi, standing behind the city lord of Qiushan City, gave Duan Lingtian a faint glance before closing his eyes to rest. No one knew what he was thinking. Back to business. When the city lord of Qiushan City spoke again, everyone's gaze finally left Duan Lingtian and returned to the city lord. They knew the lord was about to discuss the main matter. It wasn't hard to guess what that matter was. The city lord would select 2 or 3 from those who performed outstandingly in the trial to become his disciples. For a moment, apart from Duan Lingtian, everyone else from the 13 protectors present was filled with anticipation. Tomorrow I will set a trial for you. It will be a point-based system. The 2 with the highest points will become my disciples. The city lord of Qiushan City's gaze swept across Duan Lingtian and the other 11. Everyone except Lingyun among the 13 protectors. Hearing this, many people's breathing quickened. I summoned you today to inform you. In tomorrow's trial, you may choose to participate alone or cooperate with one other person. Of course, cooperation is limited to one partner only. The city lord of Qiushan City continued. We can actually team up? Instantly, many eyes lit up, but the city lord's next words left them all dumbfounded. However, anyone who teams up must bring along one hidden dragon camp member who is not among the 13 protectors to participate in the trial, and the points the 2 of you earn together must be split into 3 portions. Each of you takes 1 portion, while the remaining portion goes to that non-protector hidden dragon camp member. As soon as these words were spoken, most people immediately dropped the idea. Wasn't this just asking for trouble? They didn't mind teaming up, but splitting their gains equally with a burden was hard to accept. In an instant, most decided to take part in the trial alone. Team up. When the city lord said teaming up was allowed, Guoli's gaze instantly fell on Duan Lingtian, full of hope. If she teamed up with Duan Lingtian, her chances would surely be greater. But after the city lord finished adding the conditions, she withdrew her gaze in disappointment. Although she knew that if she insisted, Duan Lingtian would definitely not refuse her. Could she really be that selfish? No. If it were just her and Duan Lingtian splitting points equally, fine. But now, if she wanted to team up with Duan Lingtian, they would have to drag along a burden. That alone was bearable. The worst part was that they would have to split the points equally with the burden, leaving each of them with only 1/3 of the team's total points. Guoli, let's team up. Just as she was preparing to face it alone, a clear voice reached her ears, making her tremble. She then looked toward the youth in purple robes who was smiling at her. Duan Lingtian, the very person she had been watching. The voice transmission just now had come from Duan Lingtian. After a moment of surprise, Guoli came back to her senses. Duan Lingtian, I know you mean well, but I can't drag you down. Guoli said, drag me down. Duan Lingtian smiled. If she only knew he had zero interest in becoming the city lord of Qiushan City's disciple, who knew what expression she would wear. Although Guoli had declined, Duan Lingtian did not give up. If you put it that way, then I'll forfeit and skip the city lord's trial. Duan Lingtian transmitted to Guoli. You? Hearing such a childish remark, Guoli was speechless. Duan Lingtian, stop joking. I'm not joking. I'm serious. Duan Lingtian's expression turned grave. As time passed, Guoli finally realized Duan Lingtian was definitely not joking. In the end, she compromised and chose to team up with him. If Duan Lingtian really withdrew because of her, she would never forgive herself for the rest of her life. Of course, she knew everything Duan Lingtian did was to help her. Her heart was full of gratitude. After the city lord of Qiushan City left with Su Qi, Duan Lingtian and the others returned to the hidden dragon camp. As for the heavenly leader guard, He had vanished the moment they stepped out of the council hall. No one knew where he went. However, none of them paid any attention to the Heavenly Leader Guard's departure. The Heavenly Leader Guard was famous for appearing and disappearing like a dragon, so they were used to it. Duan Lingtian. If the two of us team up, we still need to find a third person. On the way, Guoli transmitted via True Chi. Duan Lingtian nodded. I already have someone in mind. You've chosen someone? Guoli was startled. Duan Lingtian nodded. While cooperating with Guoli seemed like a rash decision, it was actually something he had thoroughly considered. He wasn't very interested in becoming a disciple of the city lord of Qiushan City. He just wanted to help Guoli. Of course, he only considered Guoli a regular friend, and the main reason he was doing this was because of Guoli's reminder from back then. The reminder Guoli gave him when he first met her, before they knew each other. Although he didn't manage to escape danger due to her reminder that time, subconsciously, he always felt that he owed Guoli a favor. This time, he could consider it going with the flow to repay that favor. Naturally, only if Guoli successfully became a disciple of the city lord of Qiushan City would the favor be considered repaid. Who? Guoli asked, slightly curious. Zhu Lang. Duan Lingtian smiled. Inside the hidden dragon camp, Guoli was the only person he was relatively familiar with. Among the others, the only person he could think of who was even slightly familiar was Zhu Lang. But if we cooperate and bring Zhu Lang along, the points we earn will be counted as team points, and they will have to be split 3 ways. Guoli frowned and said, won't that be too disadvantageous? Then do you think you have a better chance participating in the trial alone, or cooperating with me? Duan Lingtian smiled and asked, of course, cooperating with you gives me a better chance. It's just that this is too disadvantageous for you. Guoli gave a wry smile. It's enough that you feel you have a better chance cooperating with me. As for me, don't worry about it. Duan Lingtian said. Duan Lingtian and Guoli walked ahead, communicating via True Chi voice transmission, so no one else could hear what they were discussing. However, behind them, a hateful gaze was fixed tightly on Duan Lingtian's back. Duan Lingtian. Zhang Jilung stared at Duan Lingtian's back, secretly gritting his teeth. He was severely injured by Duan Lingtian yesterday, and his injuries have only recovered by less than half. Even tomorrow, they won't be fully healed. Thinking that because of Duan Lingtian, he would have to drag his injured body to participate in such an important trial, a surge of wicked anger rose uncontrollably in his heart. He hated Duan Lingtian. He wished he could grind Duan Lingtian's bones to dust. Duan Lingtian naturally noticed Zhang Jilung's hateful gaze, but he didn't care. He was just a defeated subordinate. After returning to the hidden dragon camp, Duan Lingtian went to find Zhu Lang and told him about his cooperation with Guoli and their plan to bring him along for the trial set up by the city lord of Qiushan City. The city lord is recruiting disciples? Zhu Lang's eyes lit up. Although he knew it was impossible for him to become a disciple of the city lord of Qiushan City, he was still greatly interested in the trial set by the city lord of Qiushan City. Duan Lingtian. This trial, won't there be any danger? Finally, Zhu Lang thought of this point and asked cautiously, whether there will be danger, I don't know yet. After all, up until now, apart from the city lord himself, no one knows what tomorrow's trial will be. Duan Lingtian stated truthfully. When Zhu Lang heard this, his brows furrowed. Think about it. If you're unwilling, I'll just find someone else. I heard the city lord say that the points obtained in tomorrow's trial can be exchanged for merit points. Duan Lingtian said, 1 point can be exchanged for 100 merit points. 1 point exchange for 100 merit points. Hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Zhu Lang immediately widened his eyes, his face showing astonishment. He knew exactly what merit points were. They were things that could be used inside the main mansion to borrow Saint-grade martial arts, or even purchase high-grade human-rank sacred artifacts and Saint-grade medicinal pills. They were considered the circulating currency within the main mansion. Duan Lingtian, I'm willing. Seeing that Duan Lingtian was about to turn around and leave, Zhu Lang immediately panicked, deeply afraid that Duan Lingtian would genuinely go find someone else. He clearly understood that this was a great opportunity for him. See you tomorrow. Nodding to Zhu Lang and greeting him, Duan Lingtian returned to Wooden House number 6. There was nothing much to prepare for tomorrow's trial. Duan Lingtian entered the 7 Treasures exquisite pagoda and continued to cultivate the offensive move Meteor Strike from the tie-in Meteor Arrow. Currently, Meteor Strike was not far from achieving a breakthrough to the next realm. Hidden Dragon Camp, beneath the high platform. Hu Jie, did that distant cousin of yours ask you to participate in tomorrow's trial? Zhu Lang looked at Hu Jie, narrowed his eyes, and asked with a smile. Trial? Hu Jie frowned. What trial? What? Your distant cousin from Xinan town didn't tell you. Zhu Lang said with a look of surprise. Tomorrow, the city lord will set up a trial to select disciples from the 13 protectors. In this trial, any 2 people among the 13 protectors can cooperate, but after cooperating, they must bring along 1 ordinary Hidden Dragon Camp member. Duan Lingtian and Guo Li cooperated and invited me to join. At that time, I can get 1/3 of the team's points. 1 point can be exchanged for 100 merit points. As Zhu Lang spoke, a brilliant smile appeared on his face, and his eyes were full of pride. Hu Jie's expression darkened. If he didn't realize that Zhu Lang was deliberately showing off in front of him right now, he would have lived all these years in vain. Yet, facing Zhu Lang's flaunting, he was precisely unable to say anything. I'll go ask my cousin Zheng Jian. Hu Jie snorted, then jumped onto the high platform and went to wooden house number 5 to find Zheng Jian. Seeing this, the smile on Zhu Lang's face grew even more brilliant. He felt elated and high-spirited. Having achieved his goal, he returned to the dilapidated wooden house where he lived and seriously cultivated. Inside wooden house number 5, Zheng Jian opened the door and walked out. Looking at the person outside, he frowned. Hu Jie, do you need something? Cousin Zheng Jian, I heard that tomorrow the city lord is setting up a trial to select disciples. Hu Jie asked, forcing a flattering smile onto his face. Zheng Jian nodded faintly, seemingly not very keen on engaging with this distant cousin. Cousin Zheng Jian, I heard that you guys are looking for someone to cooperate with and must bring along a Hidden Dragon Camp member. And that Hidden Dragon Camp member can also receive a certain amount of points that can be exchanged for a large amount of merit points. Is that right? Hu Jie asked with some anticipation. Who told you that? Zheng Jian frowned and asked in a deep voice. I heard it from Zhu Lang. Duan Lingtian is cooperating with Guo Li and plans to bring him along. Hu Jie said, slightly jealous. Duan Lingtian is cooperating with Guo Li? Zheng Jian's expression immediately sank, and a hint of disdain flashed across his lips. It seems that Duan Lingtian has absolutely no confidence in himself. He truly is trash. In his opinion, Duan Lingtian's choice was simply an act of giving up on himself. Although Guo Li was also a late profound level martial cultivator, and their combined strength with Duan Lingtian would be considerable, she was ultimately not as strong as Duan Lingtian. Moreover, they had to bring along a burden and split the points equally with that burden. At that time, the points Duan Lingtian received would definitely be less than what he would get alone. Therefore, he believed Duan Lingtian lacked confidence and made this choice just to appease Guo Li. Hu Jie couldn't understand Zheng Jian's words at all. Cousin, why do you say that? Zheng Jian snorted coldly. For tomorrow's trial, the city lord will take the 2 people who receive the most points as disciples. Anyone who is confident in their own strength wouldn't look for partners. It would be one thing if they didn't bring a burden or split the points equally with the burden, but now they not only have to bring a burden, but also split the points equally with them. Only an idiot would look for partners, Zheng Jian said. Hearing Zheng Jian's words, Hu Jie was stunned. That seemed logical. He asked himself honestly. If he were in Zheng Jian's position, he wouldn't look for a partner either. What a joke. Having to bring a burden was already headache-inducing, and having to split the points equally with the burden? So that's how it is. However, that Zhu Lang's luck is really good. Even if Duan Lingtian and Guo Li can't become the city lord's disciples, they will likely still obtain quite a few points. As Hu Jie spoke, his face completely darkened. At that time, Zhu Lang will also get 1/3 of the split. He and Zhu Lang have been fighting openly and secretly ever since they were in Fengyu Town. Having arrived at the Hidden Dragon Camp, he naturally didn't want Zhu Lang to step over him. Therefore, his heart was now filled with jealousy toward Zhu Lang. He needs to be alive to get the points first. Zheng Jian sneered. In tomorrow's trial, as long as I have the chance, I will eliminate Duan Lingtian. Zhu Lang is your enemy, so I'll take care of him too while I'm at it. Thank you, cousin. Hearing Zheng Jian's words, Hu Jie immediately beamed with joy, and the jealousy toward Zhu Lang in his heart vanished completely. Zhu Lang, this time, even if you manage to get points, you won't live long enough to exchange them for merit points and spend them. Hu Jie said coldly in his heart. A day passed in the blink of an eye. Early the next morning, the Heavenly Leader Guard, the leader of the 36 personal guards of the Qiushan City Lord's Mansion, appeared again. Instantly, except for Ling Yun, the head of the 13 protectors, the other 12 members of the 13 protectors left their wooden houses and respectfully saluted the Heavenly Leader Guard. Let's go. Following the Heavenly Leader Guard's command, the 12 people among the 13 protectors followed. Zhu Lang. Under Duan Lingtian's reminder, Zhu Lang also followed. Zhu Lang following them caused the Heavenly Leader Guard and many others to be startled, wondering why he was following. Duan Lingtian asked me to come. Under the gaze of the Heavenly Leader Guard, Zhu Lang said somewhat timidly, Duan Lingtian. Instantly, not just the Heavenly Leader Guard, but everyone else looked toward Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian plans to bring a hidden dragon camp member to participate in the trial set by the City Lord? Is he looking for a partner? Has he gone mad? Finding a partner is equivalent to finding a burden for himself, and he has to split the points equally with that burden. Everyone, including the Heavenly Leader Guard, guessed the reason Duan Lingtian had asked Zhu Lang to leave the hidden dragon camp with him. Duan Lingtian, are you really planning to cooperate with someone else to participate in the test set by the City Lord? The Heavenly Leader Guard looked at Duan Lingtian and asked with a frown. Duan Lingtian nodded. The Heavenly Leader Guard was about to say that Duan Lingtian was foolish, but ultimately refrained from saying it in front of so many people. Instead, he used true Qi sound transmission and said, Duan Lingtian, you are confused. With your strength, it wouldn't be impossible for you to participate in the test alone and become the City Lord's disciple. But by seeking cooperation, you are fundamentally ruining your future. By the end, the Heavenly Leader Guard's tone was full of disappointment, like hating iron for not becoming steel. Duan Lingtian smiled and said nothing. At this moment, what could he say? Should he tell them that he had absolutely no interest in becoming the disciple of the City Lord of Qiushan City? If he said that, it would certainly arouse public indignation. He had no doubt about this. Duan Lingtian, it seems among us, only you and Guoli have chosen to cooperate. In that case, let me congratulate you in advance here, wishing you and Guoli success in taking first place and jointly becoming the City Lord's disciples. Just as many people were discussing amongst themselves, a loud voice rang out, causing everyone present to quiet down and look toward the source of the sound. Immediately, everyone realized that the speaker was Zheng Jian, ranked 5th among the 13 protectors. Many people were startled. So, the person cooperating with Duan Lingtian was actually Guoli. Although Zheng Jian was ostensibly congratulating Duan Lingtian, anyone with keen eyes or ears could tell that Zheng Jian was simply gloating. I shall take those auspicious words. However, Duan Lingtian responded calmly, as if he hadn't noticed the gloating in Zheng Jian's tone. This made Zheng Jian feel momentarily awkward. He snorted coldly and stopped talking. When Ho Lin and Zhang Zhilong learned that Duan Lingtian was going to cooperate with Guoli, sarcastic smiles appeared on their faces too, believing that Duan Lingtian was simply lifting a rock only to drop it on his own foot. Duan Lingtian, you are too impulsive. Gold Ingot, ranked 3rd among the 13 protectors, couldn't help but use true Qi sound transmission to speak to Duan Lingtian. With your strength, if you didn't cooperate with Guoli, becoming the City Lord's disciple shouldn't be difficult. But you insist on. Before Gold Ingot could finish his sentence, Duan Lingtian interrupted. Everyone has their own aspirations. Duan Lingtian knew what Gold Ingot was going to say next. Nothing more than that he insisted on cooperating with Guoli, bringing trouble upon himself. Hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Gold Ingot shook his head and said nothing further. Soon, the Heavenly Leader Guard brought Duan Lingtian and his party together with the City Lord of Qiushan City. There was only the City Lord of Qiushan City present. As for his disciple, Su Qi, he was nowhere to be found. Clearly, he had not followed the City Lord of Qiushan City here. Is the test set up outside the city? Duan Lingtian looked back at Qiushan City, which lay there like a giant beast, and thought to himself. He and the other 12 people had been brought here by the Heavenly Leader Guard to meet the City Lord of Qiushan City. Since they were outside the city, the test was most likely set up outside Qiushan City. He was almost certain of this. Move out, soon. Under the command of the City Lord of Qiushan City, Duan Lingtian and his group, including the Heavenly Leader Guard, rose into the air and flew rapidly into the distance. following behind the city lord of Qiushan City. Flying was forbidden inside Qiushan City, but now that they had left, the members of the Hidden Dragon Camp felt a sense of the sea is wide for fish to leap, the sky is high for birds to fly. Where are we going? After flying north for a quarter of an hour, they still hadn't reached their destination, and Duan Lingtian's heart was filled with doubt. Just as Duan Lingtian felt suspicious, the voice of the city lord of Qiushan City timely arrived. We've arrived. Arrived? Duan Lingtian was stunned. He immediately looked around and found that he had arrived above a mountain range. Could the test be held here? The city lord of Qiushan City's action of descending answered Duan Lingtian perfectly. At this moment, the others also reacted. We've arrived. No way. The test is going to be held in this godforsaken place. I really don't know what kind of test it will be. Amidst the chatter, the group followed the city lord of Qiushan City. Duan Lingtian and his group followed behind the city lord of Qiushan City and landed outside the exit of a valley. When viewed from the outside just now, Duan Lingtian noticed that this valley had only one other exit besides the one in the air. This exit was the one directly in front of them. That is, looking closely, Duan Lingtian could see that the valley exit ahead was guarded by two middle-aged men wearing silver armor. The attire of the two men was almost identical to that of the Hidden Dragon Camp steward, the Heavenly Injury Guard. This kind of silver armor. Could they also be figures among the 36 personal guards? Duan Lingtian secretly guessed. City Lord. While Duan Lingtian was still pondering, the two silver-armored middle-aged men at the valley exit had already taken a few steps forward and respectfully saluted the city lord of Qiushan City. City Lord. At the same time, Duan Lingtian heard two voices coming from high in the sky. Looking up, he saw two other figures wearing silver armor standing in the air, respectfully saluting the city lord of Qiushan City. Duan Lingtian looked at the Heavenly Leader Guard and noticed a slight change in the Heavenly Leader Guard's expression. It seems these four people really are figures among the 36 personal guards. I just don't know which guards they are. Also, what secret does this valley, guarded by four personal guards, hold? Duan Lingtian's heart stirred, filled with curiosity. The valley before him was guarded by four people outside. However, the airspace directly above the valley was empty. He had noticed this earlier. Also, earlier, our group did not approach the airspace above this valley. Could it be that a no-fly formation has also been set up inside this valley? As he thought about it, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but guess secretly. The city lord of Qiushan City had brought them to land outside this valley. If they were going to enter the valley, why didn't they just enter from the air? Furthermore, the valley exit was guarded by four individuals suspected to be among the 36 personal guards. Swish, 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 swish. Before Duan Lingtian could react, he heard bursts of whistling sounds coming from behind him, causing his expression to change. City Lord. Only when deafening, synchronized voices arrived did he react, simultaneously looking toward the source of the sound. In Duan Lingtian's view, more than 10 figures wearing silver armor appeared. These people were either middle-aged men or young men. Their appearance startled not only Duan Lingtian, but also the other 13 protectors and Zhu Lang. They are all figures among the 36 personal guards. The corner of Duan Lingtian's mouth twitched slightly. He could tell. The silver armor worn by these dozen or so people was identical to the silver armor worn by the four guards outside the valley, and also identical to the armor worn by the Hidden Dragon Camp steward, the Heavenly Injury Guard. You don't seem to be one of the 13 protectors? At some point, the city lord of Qiushan City's gaze fell upon Zhu Lang, and he asked, "Greetings, city lord." In front of the city lord of Qiushan City, Zhu Lang appeared somewhat constrained. I am a member of the Hidden Dragon Camp invited by Duan Lingtian and Guo Li. They plan to cooperate and bring me along. Cooperation. Upon hearing Zhu Lang's words, the city lord of Qiushan City immediately looked at Duan Lingtian, and a subtle, complex glint flashed deep within his eyes. His thoughts were similar to everyone else's. They all thought Duan Lingtian had given up. However, the city lord of Qiushan City quickly recovered and looked around at Duan Lingtian and the others. This valley is the place where you will participate in the test. Inside, a no-fly formation has been set up. Therefore, flying is not permitted inside. Just as expected, the first sentence spoken by the city lord of Qiushan City confirmed Duan Lingtian's guess. The city lord of Qiushan City continued. Currently, inside this valley, there is a group of vicious bandits. These bandits were captured by our Qiushan City Lord's mansion and have not yet been executed. The City Lord of Qiushan City continued. Today, they are your prey. You can earn corresponding points by hunting and killing them. Killing bandits of different cultivation levels yields different points. For example, killing an early stage of Mortal Shedding Realm bandit only earns 1 point. Killing a mid-stage Transcendent Realm bandit earns 3 points. Killing a late Profound level bandit earns 7 points. Killing a lesser perfection of the Mortal Shedding Realm bandit earns 20 points. The City Lord of Qiushan City said this in one breath. Whoa! Hearing the words of the City Lord of Qiushan City, the entire audience erupted in an uproar. There are even lesser perfection of the Mortal Shedding Realm bandits. Many people's expressions turned grim, their hearts pounded, and some even began to harbor thoughts of retreat. A lesser perfection of the Mortal Shedding Realm bandit is worth that many points. Duan Lingtian was also surprised. Killing one lesser perfection of the Mortal Shedding Realm bandit was nearly equivalent to killing 3 late Profound level bandits. At this point, Duan Lingtian also noticed that the others looked unwell. The reason was not difficult for him to understand. They were undoubtedly worried about the danger. After all, inside the valley were powerful bandits whose cultivation had reached the lesser perfection of the Mortal Shedding Realm. If they encountered one, wouldn't they be doomed? Each of you, and each group, will be followed by one of my 36 personal guards. They will follow you and record the points you earn. As if seeing everyone's worry, the City Lord of Qiushan City continued. Besides recording your points, they will also guard your safety. However, once they make a move, the person saved will also be eliminated from the competition, though their current points will remain valid. Now, you may all go. After speaking, the City Lord of Qiushan City looked toward the valley entrance ahead. Remember, this is the only exit inside this valley where the no-fly formation has been deployed. Let's go. Duan Lingtian was the first to snap back to reality, calling Guo Li and Zhu Lang to enter the valley together. As Duan Lingtian and the other two stepped into the canyon, 2 middle-aged men in silver armor followed right behind, and the rest of the group came back to their senses. With the 36 personal guards watching from the shadows, our lives aren't in danger. At this moment, all their worries vanished. Humph. Zheng Jian's eyes flashed coldly as he darted into the canyon, inwardly gritting his teeth. Duan Lingtian, count yourself lucky. He knew that with the 36 personal guards hidden nearby, there was no way he could kill Duan Lingtian during the trial. After Zheng Jian went in, another silver-armored middle-aged man tagged along. Once they were sure there was no danger, the others entered the valley one after another. After entering, Duan Lingtian looked up and saw sheer cliffs on every side. With the no-fly formation active, climbing out was practically impossible. In a place like this, with a no-fly formation in place, those bandits have no chance of escaping. Now he understood why no guards were posted elsewhere in the valley. There was simply no fear of the bandits breaking out. The whole valley had only one exit, personally guarded by several of the 36 personal guards. The bandits wouldn't dare charge it. Add to that the City Lord of Qiushan City and the leader of the 36 personal guards, Heavenly Leader Guard, and the valley was as tight as an iron barrel. The bandits had become nothing more than prey for Duan Lingtian's group. Of course, whether the hunters could actually bring the prey down depended on their own skill. From outside, the valley looks small, but once you're inside, it's actually quite large. Duan Lingtian murmured while weaving through the jungle with Guo Li and Zhu Lang. The place is covered in forest. The bandits are probably hiding. Finding them will take some effort. Let's take turns scanning with mental energy. Guo Li suggested. Mental energy scan. Hearing her, Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up as though something had occurred to him. Yet he rejected the idea. No need, no need. His words left Guo Li and Zhu Lang startled. Then they saw Duan Lingtian slow down and come to a stop. They followed suit. While they stood there puzzled, Duan Lingtian leapt onto a nearby tree and called out, Guo Li, Zhu Lang, up here. They jumped up after him. Higher ground, better view. Not a bad idea, Duan Lingtian, Zhu Lang said with a grin. Traveling through the treetops does give a wider view. But if the bandits are hiding on the ground under the trees, we'll have a hard time spotting them, Guo Li said with a frown. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. But before she finished, Duan Lingtian had already sprung to another tree, agile as a monkey, racing along the branches. Let's keep up, Zhu Lang said, following. With no other choice, Guo Li gave a wry smile and set off after them. suspecting Duan Lingtian hadn't heard her at all. In fact, he hadn't. His attention was fixed ahead. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. While speeding through the trees, the sun-shooting bow appeared in his hand. His eyes locked forward, the black vortex in his left pupil slowly swirling. Eerie eye. In an instant the view through his left eye became crystal clear. Every trunk and leaf stood out in sharp detail. After a dozen breaths, he suddenly brightened. True chi condensed into an arrow that he set against the bowstring. The bowstring flexed as he drew it partway. Even though he had reached mid-stage transcendent realm and could unleash strength rivaling late profound level, the string made from a 5-clawed demonic dragon's tendon could still only be pulled a short distance. Guo Li and Zhu Lang, close behind, caught sight of him knocking the arrow, and their hearts skipped. He spotted a target? Clang. Just as they realized, the true chi arrow left the bow and streaked invisibly through the air. 100 meters away, a figure toppled. It was a disheveled, middle-aged man with a bloody hole in his head, blood still flowing, utterly lifeless, dead beyond doubt. As the man fell, 2 nearby middle-aged men paled. People from the Qiushan City Lord's Mansion are here. In panic, both tried to dodge aside using movement techniques. Whoosh. Before they could finish, another true chi arrow pierced the air, killing one of them. The other managed to hide behind a tree, still alive. The tree trunk was so thick it would take 2 grown men to wrap their arms around it. What a terrifying archer! The middle-aged man hiding behind the tree was gasping for breath, his face ghastly pale. In the blink of an eye, both of his companions had been killed. From start to finish, he had only seen 2 fleeting streaks of arrow light. Did the Qiushan City Lord's Mansion throw us into this valley just to toy with us? The middle-aged man's face was twisted with rage. He felt he had suffered the greatest humiliation. His eyes were bloodshot, yet deep within them lay a trace of helplessness, profound helplessness. Whoosh! Another short, sharp whistle cut through the air, and the middle-aged man's expression changed dramatically. His heart lurched. Not good. The next instant, a sharp pain flared in his abdomen. He looked down to find his belly pierced clean through, and then his consciousness began to blur and drift. Whoosh! At the same moment, a purple figure appeared beside the tree, gazing coldly at the staggering middle-aged man. Yet the middle-aged man seemed not to notice him. Whoosh! Whoosh! Now Guo Li and Zhu Lang arrived as well. The sight before them left them stunned. Heavens! Duan Lingtian had loosed 3 arrows and killed 2 bandits while gravely wounding a third, and the last bandit had been hiding behind a tree so thick 2 men couldn't encircle it. This is an iron cedar. Zhu Lang drew a sharp breath and instantly recognized the massive tree, its trunk now sporting a clean, straight hole. Iron cedar, a tree unique to the Dao martial Holy Land. Its wood is exceptionally tough. For an ordinary middle-stage transcendent realm martial artist, piercing it with a single arrow would be impossible. Yet Duan Lingtian had done it. Not only had he pierced the trunk, he had also gravely wounded the middle-aged man hiding behind it. The middle-aged man twitched a few times and finally collapsed, dead. How many points are these 3 bandits worth? Duan Lingtian asked calmly, as though addressing someone unseen. Whoosh! Whoosh! Almost before the words left his mouth, the 2 silver-armored middle-aged men who had entered with them appeared like ghosts. 2 early stage of mortal shedding realm, 1 mid-stage transcendent realm, 5 points in total. One of them said without expression, only 5 points. Duan Lingtian frowned, then leapt into the air and landed on a nearby tree, continuing to flit through the branches. Guo Li and Zhu Lang followed. That must be Duan Lingtian. After the 3 left, the stoic guard casually marked the 3 corpses and set off in pursuit. He really is a fine prospect. No wonder the city lord and the boss think so highly of him, said the other guard as he too sprang after them. In moments both were racing through the trees, keeping the trio in sight. Their duty was not only to record results, but also to protect Duan Lingtian's group. They could not allow the 3 to leave their sight. With his eerie eye, Duan Lingtian struck first again and again, felling bandits before they could react, leaving corpses for those behind. Following Duan Lingtian is like picking up free points. Guo Li and Zhu Lang exchanged wry smiles. Since entering the valley they had yet to lift a finger, though plenty of bandits had died before their eyes, all slain by Duan Lingtian. Damn it, why is it nothing but corpses? Not far behind, Zheng Jian happened to travel the same line, moving cautiously, yet all he saw were bodies. Something felt off. Can't keep to this path. Need to change direction. He finally realized, switched course, and pressed on. Soon he encountered a bandit, weak, at least compared to him, and killed the man in a single strike. Early stage of mortal shedding realm, 1 point. Frowning, Zheng Jian continued on his way. Meanwhile, the remaining 10 candidates, apart from Duan Lingtian's trio and Zheng Jian, swept the valley like a net, bandits falling to their blades. However vast, a valley has its limits. Duan Lingtian's group pressed ahead and reached the jungle at the valley's center first. Duan Lingtian's eerie eye narrowed. In the vision of his left eye, another bandit appeared, standing there, seemingly waiting for something. A cold smile touched his lips as he knocked another arrow. Whoosh! The arrow tore through the air with terrifying speed. Not good. At the same instant, the targeted bandit seemed to sense something, and his face changed dramatically.